Hi, I'm Holly, and with $35 and items I already have, I'm going to turn the outside of this cabinet into a pretty cool looking dollhouse. Now is probably a good time to say that this is not a tutorial because I've never done this before, so I don't know what I'm doing. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. And also, this video is not intended for children. Children should have the supervision of an adult before they do any project. But I wanted to show you all that I started by trying to get as much paint as possible off of those inside shelves. Even though I'm going to be working on the outside of the dollhouse for the duration of the video, I knew it was going to be really messy to try to strip some of that paint off of the shelves to reveal the wood underneath. So I wanted to get that done before I started on the outside, and stripping the paint proved to be a pretty hard task. I apparently didn't have very good paint stripper, but I just used what was on hand. After I scraped off as much as I could, I took it outside to sand it just to get a bit more off. At the end of the day, I got what I got, and it's totally fine. I figured a dollhouse would have a lot of scraped and peeled paint on the floor, if nowhere else, because you would move your dolls and your furniture around, so I was happy. I was pretty happy when I was able to start working on the outside. I got these little doodads off that I'd put on a long time ago and got the glue sanded off. I'm using the windows that I bought to make a template. I'm tracing the window itself, and then I'm going in and I'm making the template a little bit smaller by hand so that it won't go all the way to the edge of the window, because I'm going to be painting a dark color behind the window on the cabinet itself. And then once I am done drawing these templates, I'm going to go ahead and cut them out. Now I'm drawing on the cabinet using the template. Now I really should have used thicker paper. It would have helped me a lot. Also, turning the cabinet on its side so it was face up would have helped, but Chris was busy and I didn't want to bother him, and it's way too heavy for me to turn myself. With Chris's help, I've got the cabinet on its side now, and I'm painting the insides of those windows, and I'm using Folk Art matte paint in wrought iron. I wanted something that wasn't jet black, and it takes me about 3 coats, 2 to 3 coats, to cover just about anything that I do on this project when using this Folk Art paint, which I use a lot. I'm using that same wrought iron color to paint the door that's going to go on the front. It's not going to be an opening door, it's just for looks. But it's super cute, and I got it at a great discount. It was $9.99, marked down to only $2.99, which to me was a steal, especially because it's the perfect style for that sort of Georgian house look. Now it's time to prep that sign that was just hanging in my kitchen that I thought would be the perfect middle piece for the cabinet. I'm just taking the rope off of it because it's not necessary. And then I'm going to work on painting it. I'm starting by painting the outside rim, and I'm using that Folk Art matte paint again, but this time I'm using Seashell Pink. It is a very beautiful light pink. The house is going to be mostly monochromatic with kind of a medium pink and then this light pink, and I think it's just a really great look. I've used one of those window templates to also put it on this sign in the shape of the window that's going to go above the door. And then I am painting that area in that wrought iron color as well. Since it's not as dark black as the sign itself, I wanted to make sure that it was cohesive with the rest of the sort of underneath of those windows. Now it is time once again to pull out that seashell pink because I'm going to use it to paint all around the door frame and then just give it that nice cohesion with the windows that will also be that color. And now I'm going for that second coat of paint just to make it look nice and finished. And then at that point, the door is almost done. I'm using some drywall spackling that I just already had in my tool closet, and I'm using it to fill in some of the window. There's some chips taken out of the window just because they were really cheap. It was like 99 cents for a 3-pack, and I bought 2 of the 3 packs in order to get all the windows that I needed because I needed 5 windows. But with that comes some inconsistencies, so I spent some time filling those areas in and then sanding it down to make it nice and smooth. And you might be able to see in the background something that looks like a flower that I had painted pink. I was going to use that above the door just to sort of mimic a window. I was going to cut it in half, but then at the end of the day, I really just liked the door the way that it was, so I decided to leave it be. But I wanted to let you all know what that was and why it was there, since you're not going to see it in the final project. And so here I'm trying to show you the difference between that seashell pink and then this other color called a warm bisque. It's more of a kind of a beigey color, and I got it for only 29 cents. So it was a great deal, and it's perfect for just painting in some of those details in the door. I just wanted it to age that outside of the house just a little bit. It's not real aging. It's almost like cartoony aging. I wanted, kind of along the lines of Wes Anderson, I wanted it to look very fake, like very facade-ish. So that's kind of what I'm going for, but this makes some of those details pop a little bit. Here I'm showing you roughly what the stairs should look like. I'm using foam core that I got for $1, shockingly at the dollar store, and it was just a big sheet of foam core, and it's been perfect because it's lasted so much, and I'm gonna have so much to use for the inside as well that's left over. And so what I'm doing here is I've cut out what I felt like I needed in order to make the stairs sort of mold to that sign that I'm using for the middle piece. And so once I cut it out in the foam core, just using a mat and an X-Acto knife, then I super glued it together. And I apologize for not showing all of these steps. It was just, I had never done this before, and I was so focused on what I was doing that I didn't actually film it. But it was a lot of fun. I ended up I got these little inexpensive, just a bag of different sized wooden rectangles. They were just little flat wooden rectangles, and the smallest size was great for the stairs. Again, you're not really able to see this, but I was able to glue those on to the stairs once I had the stairs completely glued together, and then I used spackling in order to kind of smooth it out where everything had, all the foam board had joined together. Then I glued on those little wooden pieces and use a little bit more of that spackling to spackle over each piece of wood just to give it kind of a rounded stone feel. And then I was able to paint it with the folk art paint. It's time now to put on the doorknob, which is the tiniest doorknob in the world. Probably not the tiniest, but it is so adorable. It actually came with a skeleton key, which was super cute. I had to have it. I mean, what's a door without a doorknob? Although it's hilarious because the door cost $2.99 like I had said previously, but the doorknob cost $2.49. So the doorknob itself was almost as much as the door. But that's okay because it was a much needed detail, and I thought that it was just freaking adorable. So here are these flat rectangle pieces of wood that I was talking about. These are the bigger size, and this is what I'm using to be the kind of big stones, like edge stones for the front of the house to go on the left and right side. I'm painting them again with that seashell pink, and then I'm using a little bit of that warm bisque just to go around the edges and again give it that sort of like fake aged look. Now for the first time, I'm not using a folk art paint. This is a Sherwin-Williams color called Pressed Flower. I got it in the Valspar Ultra though because it was the cheapest that they had, but I needed a bigger container because this is going to go over the whole cabinet, and I wanted what I would call a dirty pink. I don't really know how else I would describe it. I guess some people would call it like a dusty rose. To me, I just wanted kind of like a dingy, dirty pink in a very matte color. I wanted the whole outside of this cabinet to be very matte. So this is the color I chose, and I think it goes really well with that seashell pink. I probably should have sanded down some of those line details on the cabinet before I laid down that wrought iron for the inside of the windows, but you know, hindsight's 2020, so what can you do? So now I'm sanding some of those details that are erased from the surface so that I can prepare all of this to paint. And then once I get that sanded down, I go ahead and vacuum clean up all of the sanded paint. And then it's time to start actually painting the front of the cabinet, which is super exciting. At this point, it starts to feel like it's actually coming together. Before, there were so many little working parts without seeing any big improvement, that was a total blast. It was just one of those things where it was like, okay, well, when is this going to come together? And then this is the part where it really starts to feel like it's coming together. A decision had to be made about the roof, and before I sort of ambitiously decided that I was going to build a roof and it was going to contain more rooms in it, like attic type rooms and maybe another bedroom or study. And in the end of the day, I just knew that my skill level wasn't there. I had done enough prior to this point where I was like, you know, I just don't think that I am up to the challenge. So I've decided to make the roof flat, just like my inspiration piece. So it's not really going to stray from this at all. Here I am working on those top pieces. It's really exciting because at this point I've got everything else done and the top is what's left. I'm making two little L-shaped pieces that are going to be made sort of like the stairs, and a middle piece like the stairs as well, where they're going to have the wooden rectangles on them glued, and then have some spackling layover to make them look kind of like stone, and then have them painted and then aged with the paint as well. So here I am gluing those rectangular pieces on. I wanted to paint the background first, just in case you could see through the cracks. I didn't want you to be able to see white. I wanted you to see like kind of a darker pink. And I think that would just make it look a little bit more realistic. So for the two L-shaped pieces, I am using the smallest of the rectangles, and those are what I used for the steps. And then I used the medium and large rectangles for those side stones that are going to go on the side of the house. And so it's the large rectangles that I'm going to use for the middle piece of the roof. Now here you can see that I'm giving a thumbs down because I painted the wrong side. I needed the L's to be a mirror of each other, not facing the same way. So you can see I'm lamenting that, but luckily I catch that early on and I'm able to fix it. So I've got the wood on, and now I'm just laying down that spackling. Since I didn't get to show you that on the stairs, I really wanted to show you all that I'm using the spackling in order to kind of like give everything a stone look. I found some wood that the previous owners of this house had left in the garage, and so I laid it out to flatten. However, it never got fully flat. It stayed bowed, but I was able to use some end pieces in order to cut. Well, actually Chris cut them, and I was able to make the chimney with those pieces. So you can see here I'm painting those pieces of wood that Chris cut for me to make the chimney, but in the background here you can see the bobbins that I had been talking about earlier that I use for my needle felting kits. Those are the ones that had the chips in them and the irregularities, and I painted those. I've got my two L-shaped pieces, and I've got that piece with the three spackled pieces of the rectangular wood that's going to go on the center of the roof there. We found this wood in the garage, and it's a much better choice since it's not so bowed. Chris cut it down to size for me, and I'm going to be placing one side directly onto the cabinet. Then I'm going to be putting those L-shaped pieces, the middle piece, and those little bobbins on top of that piece, and then putting the second piece of wood on top of all of that to make that sort of decorative look for the top of the dollhouse. Now I'm sanding it down. I've got it cleaned off, and I'm going to be painting it that same seashell pink. Enough talking. You've seen all of their sort of separate parts for this dollhouse. Are you ready to finally see it all come together? All right, well, let's do this. First, let's go ahead and have that reminder of what the cabinet looked like before, and now you get to see what the outside looks like as a dollhouse. Here we go. And here it is. I am so happy with the way that it turned out. For someone with sort of limited building skills, I've never made miniatures before. This was a lot of fun. I think it looks like a dollhouse. And so that part is pretty thrilling. The fact that I was able to make that centerpiece kind of be able to be used as the handle and open up. The cabinet was pretty great. I am thrilled. I hope you really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to start on the inside and start going room by room and turning this into an actual dollhouse inside as well as out.